Welcome to the Queer Confidence Podcast, the podcast to help you become your most confident queer self. I'm your host, he, she, they, Coach Alex Ray, and I haven't always been this confident. In fact, I used to be super insecure. And through this show, I want to share with you what's worked for me, my clients, and my guests so that you can become more confident. Hey, unicorn! Let's talk about intuition today. So first of all, that's not a word. First of all, if you were concerned that you don't have an intuition or you're just so quiet or so small that it can't possibly be helpful, I want you to know two things. One, every single person has intuition. We just learn societally to silence it. So one, everyone's got it. Two, you can always turn up the volume on your intuition. And so no matter where your intuition is at today, through this understanding, through this podcast, you are going to be able to turn up the volume on your intuition. You're also going to understand what intuition is in a better way. Now, even if you consider yourself somebody that's very logical, very logic-based, and doesn't really act on their intuition a lot, or doesn't maybe need their intuition, this is still so useful. It's funny because you act on your intuition, or you act on your logic so frequently, and then you end up with a lot more pain and suffering and heartache. Intuition doesn't mean that you have to turn off the logic. Not at all. In fact, intuition and logic can go hand in hand so well. And when you invite intuition and logic to the table, all three of you can make a better decision for your life. So decision processes can be so much faster and so much easier when you invite your intuition to speak up. You've been doing a lot of efforting. That's my verb for putting in lots of useless effort. You've been doing a lot of efforting around trying to avoid heartache or trying to please other people or trying to choose the right future, career, or trying to make decisions in your business for what's next. You've been putting all this effort in, and your logic brain is super exhausted and super tired from all the calculating. So I invite you today to let your logic brain know, hey, this is not going to ignore them in any way. No, it's going to make their job easier when you and your logic brain and your intuition all get together. The three of you are unstoppable. Now, what is intuition? Intuition is a knowing. Intuition often comes as an urge. And it's an urge or a knowing that comes from a place a bit beyond you. Intuition often feels illogical. It might come up as like a knowing that something's going to happen, even though you don't feel that you have any evidence for that thing yet, right? Intuition might be an urge to do something, even though it doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense right now. Intuition might be an urge to say something, to speak up and say it, even though you have no idea how this could be useful to the other person, or even if it's true. Now, I really could have called this podcast How to Make Everything Easy. Because here's the thing about intuition. When you are doubting yourself or doubting what to do, intuition is like that super, super accurate guide that is always knowing what's next. And you spend a lot of time spinning out in indecision, not taking the next step towards anything. And you could be making that process so much easier. You could make the decision process so much easier. You could make knowing what's next so much easier if you were willing to listen more to your intuition. Now, I kind of like the woo. I kind of enjoy the unexplainable. I kind of enjoy the spiritual. But I was afraid of leaning into my intuition because of my upbringing. Being brought up in an evangelical, conservative, legalistic Christian environment, I really had a lot of fear around trusting my intuition because I thought any kind of knowing, any kind of urge or kind of push that I couldn't sort of explain directly with God or the Bible must be demonic. And I've had several different, like, really wacky intuitive moments over the course of my life. Two of the most dramatic ones were one time in church, funny enough, I saw an older woman from across the room and I thought, oh my gosh, she looks horrible. She looks like she's going to die. And I asked my mom what was wrong with her. And she's like, oh, Alex, nothing is wrong. She just has some bruises on her face because she fell down. And I'm like, yeah, I see the bruises, but like, she looks freaking awful. Like, again, she looks like she's going to die. And an hour or so later, during their like adult Sunday school kind of post-sermon discussion, she fainted and went to the hospital, and she never came back out. She passed away in there. I can't remember how long it was that she was in the hospital. I think less than a year, might have been a few months. Honestly, I was a kid. Don't really have, super accurate memory of this. But that was a time when, okay, that's kind of wacky. Like, something in me was saying, that woman looks like she's going to die. And then it came true. Another time, I was driving, and for some reason, I was like, I gotta slow down right now. Something's about to happen. And I slammed on my brakes, even though literally nothing was happening in traffic. Slammed on my brakes and stopped. My family's like, what the hell? And literally, the moment we came to the stop, a car pulled out and like came across our lane. They were trying to go in the opposite direction of me, and a car already going that way T-boned that car, and it went spinning across the lane, my lane and the lane next to me, and up into the curb. So had I stopped the car about a second later, because in a second we would have traveled that like additional about 4 feet, we would have been involved in that accident because that car spinning would have hit us. It was literally 4 to 6 feet away from us as it spun across the lane, which means my intuition was perfectly accurate in slam on your brakes, just do it. So those are just 2 examples of some intuition. Actually, let me give you another one that was like kind of fun and kind of weird, because this one was super recent. Now, I have never gotten like, my intuition has always been a knowing, and intuition can come across in many different ways. Sometimes it can be like a physical sensation in your body too. And I was coaching someone maybe a week ago, and we were talking through some stuff, some inner child things, and I got a sharp pain very suddenly in my ear canal, like the feeling of having an ear infection, but like real bad. And I interrupted and I said, okay, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but did you have an ear infection? Like a really bad infection when you were a kid? And he dropped his jaw, had to pick it up off the floor, and said, oh my gosh, yes. That's when I developed this belief that I can't be fully human. I can't be sick. I can't show weakness because I had these really bad infections. I was coughing a whole lot. And my mom was very annoyed by me coughing and was like, just stop making noise. I want to sleep. And so ever since then, he has not wanted to be fully human, not wanted to be sick, not wanted to allow himself to be anything but, 100% on all the time in order to not kind of displease everyone else or ultimately kind of not displease his mom, right? It was not okay to be sick when he was a kid. So his inner child was very afraid of being that now as an adult. So, wow. I was like, okay, that's weird. I've never had that happen before. And maybe I have had it happen and just wasn't aware of it because I haven't been leaning into my intuition until January this year. I started making an effort to. So with that being said, I want to give you a much faster way to increase your intuition so that you can have a strong intuition like me, but without waiting 7 months to do it. All right. So here are the 4 steps to growing your intuition. First of all, I know you can think of a time when you had kind of a knowing about what was going to happen and it didn't seem logical, right? You had an intuitive experience. You had an urge, you had a knowing. It might have just felt like a thought in your head that you were like, that's a weird thought. Don't know why I'm thinking that. I want you to notice where you felt it in your body. Again, it could have just been a thought that came across your brain that didn't really make a whole lot of sense, didn't really have an explanation. You can notice, though, how do you feel in your body when it comes up? Maybe you feel it like a settledness in your stomach or a firm, grounded feeling. Maybe you feel it in your throat like this urge to vomit. You just have to get it out. You have to say it. You have to speak it. Notice where in your body you experience intuition. And I encourage you next time it comes up to notice as well. Notice the body placement. As you lean into your intuition, you will likely start to get intuitive feelings in your body in more places. Like I said, I've never observed, I never realized if it's happened before maybe, but I never spoke up about it, didn't even know it was intuition. I've never thought that I had intuitive things in my body. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say that pain in my ear canal went away right after I brought it up with him. It was gone. And I had been trying to get rid of it for 10, 20, 30 seconds before I actually spoke up about it. And I'm rubbing my neck and nothing, it's not going away. I stopped rubbing. I talked with him about it. And as soon as we finished the conversation, gone, nothing. So that might not be your experience yet. That was, again, first time to my knowledge, but I've only been leaning into my intuition for about 7 months now. Okay. Or 8 months. I can count 8 months. Yeah. All right. Again, don't worry about it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be like that. When I slammed on my brakes with the car, it was just a knowing. Most of my clients, when we start, they just experience intuition in the form of thoughts that don't make a whole lot of logical sense. So, body placement. Step number 1, notice where you feel it or how you get it, how you receive intuition. Second, non-attachment. Okay. Deliver intuitive knowing or intuitive urges with non-attachment. And what I mean by this is that the other person, maybe if you have a knowing that you want to tell someone, the other person might not be ready to hear it. Great example. I had one of my colleagues text me and say, hey, I have something I want to share with you. And we got on the call and she was like, I just have this strong urge to share this with you. And I'm also kind of worried that you might think I'm weird or strange for sharing this with you. But like, I really feel this strong urge to share it with you. So take it or leave it. What she was practicing was non-attachment. She wasn't attached to my reaction. She felt the urge. She spoke up with me about it and allowed me to have whatever thoughts or feelings I had about it, right? I could have been like, why the hell are you sharing this tip with me? I don't need this. Do you think I'm bad at doing this thing? Why would you tell me? Right? She was not attached. It's helpful to deliver your urges with other people the same way, not attached. It also might be something where you have an intuitive urge or nudge that you know you need to do something just personally, right? So it could be something within your relationship. And what attachment would look like is, okay, I intuitively know I need to speak up about something that is, a pattern that I see with this person. And being non-attached to both how that person is going to react to it and non-attached to how you experience that with that person, right? You might be thinking, oh, because it's an intuitive nudge, it's just going to be a simple conversation. No, it might be hella uncomfortable, right? It might be the most uncomfortable conversation you've ever had with that person. It might bring up things that you didn't really want to face yet. So being not attached to it working out in the exact way that you're hoping it will work out, also key here. Also, you might bring something up, right? And like the ear infection thing, right? And it might spark conversation in a different direction than you had originally intended. What had happened when I brought up that thing with the ear infection was that it wasn't exactly an ear infection that he had. He had multiple ear infections and he didn't feel heard. Ear, hear, heard, ear infection, right? Lung infections. It was just enough for me to ask the question, hey, does this mean anything to you? I was not attached to it being exactly the way that I assumed it was going to be. It wasn't quite an ear infection. It was a lung and like sinus infection, and he didn't feel heard. It was still useful. If I had been attached to that intuitive nudge, I might have argued, no, that's not right. That's not right. An ear infection specifically. We need to look for a specific ear infection memory. Okay, so remain non-attached to how things play out. It can always be useful to bring up what your intuition is saying, even if it doesn't work out the way that you assumed it would or even hoped. Okay. Third, it's to be unashamed of your intuition. What I mean by this is do not shame your intuition, no matter what comes of it. Maybe you follow an intuitive nudge to speak up and say something to a friend, and it started an entire argument. it opened a whole can of worms that you did not sign up for. Do not go back to your intuition and shame it. Hey, you absolutely useless, obnoxious intuition. Go back to your corner and do not speak to me again. I can't believe that you did that to me. No. You always take responsibility for how you choose to act when you feel an intuitive nudge. You, the driver of your life experience, decide what to do, what turns to take in the car. Intuition is your co-pilot, making recommendations. So you always, no matter how things play out, you always go back and thank your intuition. Thank you so much for showing up for me. Thank you so much for giving me this nudge. Thank you so much for trying to look out for me. I appreciate it. And this time, I'm not going to follow that urge. Or this time, I did follow the urge and it didn't work out. But hey, I appreciate you leading me in this direction. This is going to be useful. This is going to be useful for my experience. Don't shame your intuition also when it appears to be incorrect, right? You had an intuitive nudge that, I don't know, you should ask this person out at the club. And they were like, no, I don't want to go out with you. It's okay. Don't go and shame your intuition. I can't believe you humiliated me like that. No. How is it useful to you? How is it useful? And don't shame your intuition from a perspective of, oh, this is stupid woo-woo shit that like does not have any kind of basis in logic or meaning, right? Like, don't go to the place of like, no, you stay over there and I will only speak to you on my terms, intuition. No. Welcome the intuition to the table. Welcome your intuition like you would a friend. You don't take all of your friends' advice, do you? No. There's some advice that your friends give you that is terrible and you don't follow it. Also, sometimes they give you terrible advice and you follow it, but you don't like cut them out of your life. The same thing happens with your intuition. Befriend it and don't be ashamed of it, no matter how it works out or no matter what it tells you. The fourth way to increase the volume on your intuition is to trust it. Trust your intuition. Trust that it has your best interest in mind. Trust that it's coming from a place that is greater than your current perspective. It may be from the future. It may be just from a broader view of everything going on. Trust that your intuition is wise. You may still choose not to follow it, but it is always useful. Trust that it is useful even if it's inaccurate. Trust your intuition just as you do that great friend, even though sometimes you don't like their advice or you don't follow their advice. All right, the 4 ways again to grow your intuition. Body placement. Notice where you feel it. Notice kind of the urges that you get with intuition. Notice what it feels like or how it comes across. Deliver intuition with non-attachment. Always approach your intuition without shame. And finally, trust. Trust your intuition that it is wise and has your best interest. And trust yourself to have an experience worthwhile no matter what your intuition says and no matter what you choose to do with it. All right, my friend, turn up the volume on your intuition. allow your decisions to be made so much easier. Start following those urges. I gotta tell you, I save so much time by not overthinking things, by not trying to come to the most logical example. Do I still listen to logic? Hell yes. I love my logic. I also love my intuition. And I allow both of them to come to the table. And then I make a decision as the operator of the Alex Ray experience, what I'm going to do. I invite you to do that exact same thing. Invite your logic, invite your intuition. The three of you are the strongest. Two of you alone, you're all right. And on your own, totally solo, what you gonna do? You got no backup. A cord of three strands, as that Bible verse says, is not easily broken. Hey, there we go. Brought church back into it. All right, my friend, have an amazing, amazing week. Lean into your intuition. Turn the volume up. Trust that you don't have to put any effort in to the intuition. Just by listening to it, it will get louder. The only reason it's been soft is because you've been shaming it, because you've been trying to stay away from it for whatever reason. It's okay. You're inviting it back. You want to be best friends with it again. And the more that you listen to it, the safer it feels to speak up to you, and the safer you feel to listen to it. Listen to your intuition this week and have a freaking fantastic week. I'll see you on the next episode. If you enjoyed this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend so they too can become more confident. You can also help more people find the show by leaving a 5-star review wherever you listen. And if you want to become a more confident queer with support from yours truly, head to coachalexray.com or use the link down in the show notes. I'm looking forward to working with you.